Hi, I hope you've had a lovely Easter. I've had a nice break, but I'm back and raring to go. And anyway, I thought I'd just take this opportunity to share with you a little of where I plan to go with the worship services over the next few weeks. But to begin with, some words from John's Gospel. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness hasn't overcome it. It's been one heck of a year, hasn't it? It's a word that's overused, but still pretty much covers it. Unprecedented. We've been stretched and challenged in all sorts of ways. We've had to embrace new ways of doing even some of the most basic things. And now, thankfully, we are starting to emerge. In one sense, we might feel we've been here before, back last summer when we were eating out to help out and so on. We had a couple of brief spells of services in the church even. But there are perhaps greater grounds for hope this time as more and more people are vaccinated, some of you twice, and we are finding that vaccination is having an effect on the seriousness with which people catch the virus and the number of hospitalizations, the number of deaths and so on. And so we are at a very new stage in this journey. For many of us, there will be hopes and dreams of a new beginning, the chance to meet up with family, to snuggle grandkids and whatever. But for others, there'll be fears and troubles that we carry into this new season. Some of us might have got used to being at home and we're quite nervous about venturing out. Or we've got so used to being in small groups that the thought of being around lots of people at the one time makes us anxious. For some of us, life has changed quite dramatically in this last 12 months. So we will move into quite a different life and world than the one which we left behind. But all of us, whether we realise it or not, will have been changed in some sense by the last year. Each of us will have faced challenges of one sort or another. Lots of things we have taken for granted have been shown to be far more fragile than we thought, and more precious than we thought. Today we're hearing lots of talk about getting back to normal. And I suppose in some sense we will. But, and you might remember me talking about this a while back, you might just want to pause to question whether we really want to go back to all of it. You might remember I drew your attention to this quote from Sonia Renee Taylor. We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal other than we normalised greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We have been given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. You might struggle to remember the world pre-COVID, but it was a season marked by climate protests, Extinction Rebellion and so on. And whatever you thought about Extinction Rebellion and their tactics or whatever, they were drawing attention to the fact that some aspects of our normal were actually destroying us. So there are three words which have gained prominence amongst politicians around our world. Rather than simply recover what we lost, we can build back better. And those words have been used by our own Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, or by US President Joe Biden, and by New Zealand PM Jacinda Ardern. It's their big focus is building back better. And they leave us with a few questions. Do we really want to go back to how it was before? Could we, even if we did want to? Or might this be an opportunity to rethink, to reset some aspects and create something better? And not just in the economy and wider society, but in our faith community and in our lives and our relationships with God and with others. The last year, there's been a lot of upheaval. But with God, upheaval can be a catalyst for change. Indeed, disruption and upheaval is normally the pathway to change. It forces us to reevaluate and question stuff we might not have otherwise even thought about. This last year has seen its fair share of chaos. But our scriptures begin with the Spirit of God hovering over the waters of chaos and making new creation possible. Much has changed over the last year. Some things have been lost. There's a place to mourn that. But equally, we mustn't lose sight that as we do so, we are people of resurrection. That we are Easter people in a Good Friday world. So over the next few weeks, on the Sundays I'm with you at least, we'll be considering how we might grow back better. I'm not specifically asking about how church services change, or what activities might we drop, or what might we pick up, what new ideas might we explore. All of that stuff is kind of floating around, and it might be part of it. But if it's to mean anything, it'll be rooted in deeper questions. What is God asking of us in this place, this time, in the circumstances in which we find ourselves? What is God seeking to do in and through us? What type of people does God want us to become? What new creation is God wanting to birth in our midst? And how might all of this be reflected in the life we share together? And how might we empower one another for the life, which, let's be honest, is most of it, when we're apart? If you were to encounter Jesus and he were to ask you, what would you like me to do for you? How would you respond? And what could you do to open yourself to that possibility? What first steps could we take, or could you take, to make that a reality? And if we're starting with those kind of questions, and if we allow ourselves to be open to the Spirit hovering over us, amongst us, stirring within us, then I believe, even amongst all the chaos of the last year, he will open our eyes to new opportunities, new possibilities, because in him is light and life. The darkness we have faced over the past year or so hasn't overcome the light. So may we engage with this season and through him see a new future which can and will be built for us. God bless you. Thanks for listening.